Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike Michalowicz. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this, and it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike Michalowicz works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. Today, we're going to chat about creating customers for life and how to get ahead faster than you thought was possible. One of the biggest costs is customer acquisition, and there are ways to do this for less. That's what I like. Profitable clients that don't cost an arm and a leg to acquire. Today's guest is going to help us with that. Dr. Richard Kaye was a vice president of CEO Space and was CEO of Entrepreneurial Excellence. Additionally, he served as the co-chair for the Taos County Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee. He's been featured on KGTV in San Diego and on KTLA TV in Los Angeles, and on several occasions discussing two of his specialties, team building and super networking. Richard's sole purpose is to elegantly inspire people to awaken their magnificence through love, humor, joy, and passion. That's what he does now. Let's meet our guest and learn how to get customers for life. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Dr. Richard Kaye. It's great to have you join us today.
Hey, Rocky, a pleasure to be anywhere we are these days.
It is. I see life is slowly getting back to semi-normal, so hopefully that continues down that path. Can you share a little bit with the audience about who you are and what you do?
Wow, who am I? A serial entrepreneur, retired chiropractor, and love going out and helping small business owners grow their business faster than most people know how.
And that's important, right? Because in today's turmoil, you need to be able to go a little bit faster and pivot and be able to do that, which kind of prompts the next question. How do we help businesses to grow and thrive during these crazy times?
You know, Rocky, it's a great question. There's an old saying that I guarantee you and everybody else on watching, listening to this knows, and that is that if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. You're familiar with that expression, correct?
I am. It's the insanity one, right?
That's the other part of it. I assert that today that conversation is null and void. If you do what you've always done, with this craziness in the world today, it's a high probability you're going to go out of business. You've got to do things differently.
And I think most business owners are stuck in what is different. Like, how do I do things differently, right? You're so used to doing things one way. How do you approach that of doing things differently?
as Zig Ziglar used to call it, that's stinking thinking. It's people who live in certainty. I've always done this, and it's always worked for me. Ladies and gentlemen, the question is, look at it. Is it working now? Even though it never really served people, many people lived in competition. And I'll give you an example. When I graduated chiropractic school, I was living in New York. I drove from New York to San Diego. And my training at the time to grow a business was go join a networking group. Well, I went to join a networking group and they said, we can't have you as a member. I said, what, are you kidding me? Why not? They said, we already have a chiropractor as a member of this group. I looked at the young lady. I said, are you for real? There are 3 million people in San Diego and you're afraid of another chiropractor in the group? I said, I don't want to be a part of this. That's scarcity thinking. That's competition thinking. And I did not join that group. Today, there's still people who have that model. It doesn't serve anybody for any higher purpose. And I repeat, it's scarcity thinking, it's competition. When you step into the collaborative model, you step into how can we serve people? How can we serve more and more people? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what your business is. You want to serve more people. That's why you're in business. Oh, yes, there's the bottom line. You want to increase that. And how do you do that? By serving more people at a higher vibration, a higher level of consciousness. They'll come flocking to you.
And I have a quote of yours, which is, the people who serve others prosper. The people who don't serve others don't prosper. And you can tell just how successful a person is by the amount of service that they render to others. So this kind of brings up a question, because are you giving away too much? Are you giving away your services by serving others? What do you really mean by this? Because we have to be in business, right? I got to charge people.
I better charge people, otherwise you got a hobby. And directly with that, later on, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have access to a free book. And the book is The Secrets of Creating Customers for Life. You'll get a link to that in the show notes. Why am I giving away the book? I'm not totally crazy, a little bit maybe. Very honestly, when you read that book, you just may say, hey, I want to know more. So yes, you have to charge for services. You have to generate revenue. Too many people, in my experience, Rocky, are out there, number one, either undervaluing themselves. And I just had a link today from someone who's teaching a program on the imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. How could I charge more? You've got to charge more. You've got to charge your fair share. When you serve people, I mean, how does a hairdresser in Hollywood get $2,500 or more to charge to cut someone's hair? 2 reasons, in my belief, because obviously I don't need that. But if you're not watching, if you're just listening, it's because I'm bald, okay? They can get away with it. And it gives people bragging rights. Hey, I paid $2,500 plus a tip to get my... People live in that space. The guy or girl delivering that service knows they are worth it. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is your value? How do you determine your value? How do you serve people so that they say your worth? Hey, Rocky, I got a question. If you were to pull into a new town and there were 2 eating places, 2 eateries right next to another, one had a long line outside and the other, there wasn't even a single car in the parking lot. Honestly, which one would you be inclined to go to?
Right. See, I have a real problem here because I know the answer is to go to the one with the long line. The problem is I don't wait in lines.
I saw that comment. That's why I said, be honest now. Yeah, and we don't know the difference between the 2. And that, go ahead.
No, but you don't. And so, Depending on how long the line is and so forth and what I know about it, I might just pick the guy with no line just because I want to get in and out and I got to go.
And part of that's your level of service. Hey, this guy's not doing business. Let me give him some money. The reality is people go where people go. So you build a reputation. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't make a difference what your business is. You build a reputation. You honor that reputation. And I don't believe take care of people the way you want to be treated. Treat people better than you ever want to be treated. It'll serve you better, and people will know it. And, before we went live, you asked me a question about the book, Secrets of Creating Customers for Life. If you look in the internet, if you look in your Funk and Wagner, but that's, long before some people, we had encyclopedias back then. If you look up customer and client, you'll find that the definitions are pretty much the same, Rocky. I make a distinction, I think in the first page in the book. A customer, you go into a gas station, you go into a supermarket, you get whatever it is, you tender your payment, and there's no responsibility beyond that. Too many business owners treat their clients like that. A client is someone with whom you develop an ongoing relationship. You have suspects. Everyone is a suspect. I don't get what your business is. You do a little triage, you turn them into prospects. You turn those prospects into clients. Too many people in the process there. And part of the book is about turning those prospects into raving fans, so they refer to you. And I'll use an example, CEO Space. We've been around for 3 decades. We don't advertise. We're the #1 business building conference on the planet. That's not Richard saying that. That's Forbes and Inc. said that for almost a decade. Our business grows exactly the way you want your business to grow, by referrals. People have such an outstanding experience in growing their businesses. They say, I want to share this with you. Hey, Rocky, have you ever been to a great restaurant or seen a great movie?
Absolutely.
Have you told people about it?
I do, yes.
That's exactly it. That's what everybody craves in business. We don't advertise because the people grow businesses faster, more effectively, more efficiently, and with grace and ease.
So how do you get your clients to rave about you?
Whoa, great question. We overpromise, we overdeliver. Now, I'll give you an example. People have raised in excess of $3 billion using us as a resource. Household names that almost everyone is familiar with got born at CEO Space. Lisa Nichols, when she came, she wasn't quite certain what she wanted to do. Through the contacts and resources, because it's a culture of collaboration and cooperation, she got on the Larry King Live show. She got on the Oprah Winfrey show. She got in the video The Secret, which was popular about 20 some odd years ago. Someone told me they looked it up on the internet. She's now worth $5 million. She didn't start any place, and I have a video that shows how she got started. Mark Hansen, Jack Canfield created and gave birth to Chicken Soup for the Soul at CEO Space. Now, these are extraordinary stories. Not everyone's going to accomplish that. It's how you treat your members, how you treat your clients, how you treat your friends and family, and it begins from how you treat yourself.
Do you find most business owners think about that? Or is this the part they tend to ignore?
Rocky, I love your question. In my experience, they only think about it when they're in scarcity, when COVID shuts people down, when they're not doing enough business. My experience is when business is humming along, it tends to be forgotten. It's not a line item in a budget, client retention. I saw the other day, Coca-Cola spends five, pardon me, ladies and gentlemen, it was either 4 or 5, let's be conservative and say $4 billion a year on advertising. Sole purpose. It's called top of mind awareness. From product placement in movies and television to blatant advertising. How much does the average small business owner spend to keep top of mind awareness, to serve people?
And most business owners can't afford that level of spending. Or even a percentage of. I mean, that's a struggle always, is how much do I spend on marketing? Am I getting a return on my marketing? What's appropriate? And Coca-Cola can afford brand awareness. The average corner cannot.
You can't afford that $4 billion. But watch this, Rocky. I live in a small town. I live in Taos, New Mexico. And this story is in the book. There are 2 stories very similar. Very dear friend of mine owns a restaurant, and it's a really good restaurant. Every time I go there, Randy or Jennifer will come over, we'll hug, we'll say hello. Richard, thank you for bringing your guests here. Years ago, Jennifer asked me if I'd go on, I think it was Yelp, and write a review of the restaurant. And I said, absolutely, certainly I can do that, and I did. And you don't need a large budget to keep top of mind awareness. Rocky, what would have happened if she asked me for my email address? Obviously, I'm a local. And she sent out a newsletter every other week, once a month, with the specials. It's a French fusion. It's a breakfast and lunch. It's wonderful food. And she included a coupon for a free, well, they don't serve alcohol because it's breakfast and lunch, but let's take a full service restaurant. Bring a new client to us and we'll give you a free dessert or a free drink. Here are our specials. That's called top of mind awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, when you have top of mind awareness and someone says, oh, where should we go for dinner tonight? Oh, how about Goutis? It's, again, it's a French name or whatever made up name it is, I'm not sure. What would that do? Is it worth their cost, maybe $2 or $3 for a shot of wine or alcohol, or their cost for a dessert to have a new client? That, ladies and gentlemen, cost you an email, a newsletter. Oh, you may have to get a mailing system and a database. What's it worth to you? These may not be 24-hour returns on investment, but if you're only looking at that is so short-sighted, you can forget about long-term. You'll be out of business.
And so I agree with you on that. I think one of the problems that I see, and especially during COVID, we saw this, these companies would send out emails that, quite frankly, were boring. They were focused on them and not on the client. So you have to do things that are fun, and you have to do things that engage your client and that are more focused towards them versus focused on yourself, so to speak. So that's always an important thing. And this comes back to where we started at the beginning, which said you went to this networking group and they said, sorry, only one chiropractor. When I first started my business, I did go to a lot of networking groups, but I stayed away from most of those. And one of the reasons I did was the expectation was that if I'm part of this group, I'm going to recommend everyone in the group. And I was like, but I don't even know you all. And many of you are not the best. And so why am I going to recommend somebody to somebody else that I don't think is the best when I happen to know a better chiropractor than the one in the group? And so that was a big struggle for me. And I learned to just stay away from all of that and go find places that are much more collaborative. But that's also a struggle. How do people find these types of spaces where you have collaborative business people who are not constantly, you go to the networking, everyone's handing out business cards and me. It's kind of like, I don't want to be here.
I love your attitude. Before I speak to that, I want to speak to the first point you just brought up. How many times and this is a rhetorical question for everybody, ladies and gentlemen, I have a mailing list. And there's an attorney on my mailing list. And when I send something out, I get an autoresponder. The essence of it is to streamline our business. It's about them. We respond to emails between 4 and 5. Hello? You're there to serve. Whether you're an attorney, a financial expert, you're there to serve. Rocky, I doubt you are totally, that your highest priority is not making someone else's business easy. I mean, if you want an attorney, you don't want to wait, for them to return it. And it also says we also answer our phone between 1 and 3. Excuse me? If I want an attorney, I want an attorney now. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to look at your websites. Do you make it difficult or easy to reach out to you? Many people, there's no contact information. You fill out a form, and then you pray to God that beyond the autoresponder, someone's going to get in touch with you. That is called barrier to entry. Now, today, it can be a challenge to have an email on your website because bots scan that stuff and spam the crap out of you, just sending all kinds of stuff. I will tell you on my websites, yes, I have a form. I also have a phone number and an email address so someone can get in touch with me. Take a look at how much challenge it is for people to reach you. And Rocky, expanding on your opening theme of this part, who is your website about? Who is your marketing about? Does it start in essence with, I do this, 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 and this? Nobody cares about you. Don't take it personally. You must speak to the listening. What is it that the potential consumer is going to get should they choose to follow? Remember, today we're one click away from anything and everything. So make it easy. Make it, what is the person going to get from you? And by the way, I'm not a website designer, so don't call me to redo your website. But whoever writes your copy, especially if it's you, make it consumer-centric. Rocky, you, me, everyone else tunes into the same radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Now, let's go to these networking clubs, groups, whatever you want to call them. Again, I can only speak through my experience. Most of them tell you, say your name and where you're from and what you do. And then you pray to God someone's going to want to buy your business, product, or service because they know your name. I don't think so. One of the things that's unique about CEO space is we turn that around. Our culture is one of collaboration and cooperation. Our culture is how may we serve you? What do you do and what do you need next? Not what do you need in 6 months? What do you need right now? How can I connect you with someone? Who can I connect? Oh, you need a manufacturer? I happen to know someone. And we're in 150 or so countries. So we've got lots of resources and connections. That's the opportunity to grow business. And I don't care, ladies and gentlemen, what kind of networking group you're in, show up to serve. Show up to serve people, and you'll be amazed at what comes back. Don't worry about it. Well, I gave them a lead and I didn't get anything. Hey, it'll show up in ways that you cannot imagine.
I look at it as planting a forest. You plant seeds and, most of them will not grow. Many might dwindle and die over time, but eventually you have a forest.
Eventually you have a forest.
And it takes time.
A nice metaphor. I may borrow that. I may repurpose that. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's the way I've always built my business. And, an interesting thing that you mentioned is a lot of times giving is as simple as just helping connect people with what they're looking for or the services. So it's not like it costs you money. And that's an important way to look at it. I think too often people think of giving as actually giving something of theirs or their time or so forth. But it's more so about helping people solve problems and connecting them with appropriate solutions. And they're appreciative of that because they might have to spend 1, 2, 3, 5 hours researching something. if you can give them the information that they need in 2 minutes or 1 minute, it provides tremendous value. I just last month, one of my clients said, "This is my struggle and this is what I need." And they're like, "We don't even know what to call this." And I, like, within 10 minutes, they got an email response. "Here's everything you need. Here's your cut and paste. This is what you want to do. Go." And that's how you create raving fans.
Yeah, I was watching your mind. Yeah, that's exactly it. And just again, to append to that is, don't worry about getting back. You know, there's so many stories. There was something on Facebook, I think it was the other day, where a young man, and I think he was an Olympian, I'm not certain, used to go to McDonald's at closing time because he was poor, had no money. And there were 3 ladies that said used to work there, and they give him food. And he recently, now that he's famous, he recently sought and was able to find one of them and just bestow love and adoration, whatever, thank you. What if that little act allowed him to become a champion? Don't worry about the payback. Payback can be a bitch anyway. Just enjoy, do life, and I go back to what I said, treat people better than you would like to be treated.
And that's true. I know one of the things that you like to talk about are joint ventures and alliances. What are joint ventures and alliances?
I'm going to tell you that through a story, Rocky. CEO Space is teaching joint ventures and alliances longer than anyone else on the planet. Now, that's a pretty bold statement. We were doing it 3 decades ago in the beginning of CEO Space. I was a very famous chiropractor in San Diego. What does that mean? A PBS special, 6:30 News, morning television talk show for about a year, multiple stories with color pictures in the San Diego Tribune, the Los Angeles Times. And I was a legend right between my ears. I was famous. I was a lot younger. And I heard about this business growth conference, and I said, I don't need this. Well, I got out of my own way, and over the next 9 months, my practice virtually doubled. There are myriad ways that happened. By the way, my BS degree in business management did not help me at all, because that was just BS. I learned how to go have a job someplace. Mm-hmm. So I started doing, we didn't have language again back then, but I started doing these joint ventures and alliances. Ladies and gentlemen, who do you know in your space that is not going to steal clients, patients, customers from you, but you can help build one another's business? So here's the example. I said, who do I know in that space? Well, I started calling massage therapists, acupuncturists, nutritionists. I don't think they had the expression exercise physiologist 30 years ago, 20 years ago, but those kinds of people. And I would meet people for lunch and say, Janet, you got clients that you can't help. I have practice members who need acupuncture, nutrition, whatever it is. What if we refer to one another? And what if we assure one another that we're always going to refer the client back? Well, imagine how many more people got help now. Rocky, so many more people because there was no competition. I'll tell you how far I took this. I got real gutsy one day and I called an orthopedic surgeon. Now, most people would assume that surgeons and chiropractors are not going to be good buddies. Well, I took this guy out to lunch and I just said the same thing. You got people, I got people. Why don't we help more people? Now, I won't say we became friends, but I will say we became friendly and got together for lunch every now and then and referred people to one another. Well, it got to the point where he invited me into the surgical suite, freaked the nurses out. He had this chiropractor watching spine surgery, and we laughed about it. How many more people can you serve? I don't care what your business is. If there are some people that you can help by helping someone else. So does that give you an overview? And today, many of these people are teaching joint ventures. We're the fountainhead. It started with us.
It makes total sense. And I'll just give people a word of, I'm not going to say caution, but not everyone's up for this. And so you got to pull a lot of weeds to get to a good flower bed, right?
Yeah. You're right. Find out who is a cooperationalist, who's willing to serve more people and not make it all about them. And, in my experience, there are more and more people awakening today, being more conscious and more awake. The energy in the earth, if you would, is getting lighter and lighter. It's a higher vibration where people are looking to help one another. The human being is wired to help. We're hardwired for it. How many times we hear a story about someone being stuck under a car and a grandmother comes over and lifts the car up? You can't do that during normal times.
It just harkens back to the old days. In the old days, when you needed help, you went to the neighbor, you borrowed a cup of sugar or, some eggs or something. People would help each other and trade with each other and support each other. And that is still possible today. We do that in our neighborhood. But we built that intentionally. So you do have to put the time and effort in, and you have to be one who also gives. You can't just constantly take. So it is that battle back and forth. Is there an easier way to find joint venture relationships and partners?
Yes. There are myriad ways to do that. One, of course, is be a member of CEO Space. And I go back to what I did 22 plus years ago is I got on the phone. And we did have yellow pages back then. And I went and I called people. Today, there are workshops, programs, seminars that are designed specifically for joint ventures. I know I'm part of 4 networking groups. There's 4 networking groups that I can remember that's what they're about. And by the way, all but one of them, I just realized 6 total. It just expands. And is it worth it to spend some time online on these webinars? Or and yeah, it is. It is, and it makes them. I'll give you an example. There's a guy I know. Mike, he's out of Dallas area. He was a home inspector. Now, my numbers may be skewed by the years. Back then, it was my understanding a home inspector could earn, I don't know, maybe $45,000, $50,000 a year. Well, that's what Mike was doing, working his butt off, doing home inspections. He said, wait a minute, who can I form joint ventures with? HVAC, heating, ventilating, air conditioning people, pool inspectors, gardeners, carpenters, painters, drywallers, etc. Mike went around and started creating a referral network. Those are joint ventures, ladies and gentlemen. Who's going to know when someone's deciding to put their home on the market? All those people we just mentioned. Because people, why don't we spruce up our homes when we live there? The same thing with cars. We clean them up when we're going to sell them. Hey, Mike, I got someone here. Now, Mike would work a deal with the banks. So as long as you're legal and ethical and honest, when I was a chiropractor, you cannot pay for referrals. Doctors can't, attorneys can't. So do it in the realm that keeps you clean. Mike started teaching some beautiful seminars. I had the privilege to teach at one of them. Over 500 people in his audience learning how to do this. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many ways. Put the word out, get online, find out who's doing this, become an active member of the group. And again, show up to serve others. Don't show up to pull the energy and the money out of the room. No one wants you there.
And I think that's one of the struggles that a lot of business owners face is that they are head down in their business, trying to do their business. And so creating the space and the time to do this is not always easy. And that's part of it. And the other part of it is for a lot of people, networking is just not comfortable. And it's not in their wheelhouse. And so they have to get uncomfortable. Any advice?
Yeah. The more uncertainty you can handle in your life, the better the quality of your life.
And business is all about uncertainty.
Absolutely. Even the people who used to have jobs. And say, used to the biggest years we've had at CEO Space, speaking of that uncertainty, were right after 9/11. People looked and said, I have a job. It's not stable anymore. You don't work for the gold watch and the retirement thing anymore. You get to know that being an entrepreneur, yes, it's rich with challenges and potential cliffs, but the rewards are amazing. The second growth spurt we had at CEO Space, Rocky, was when this COVID stuff settled in. People said, I don't have a job. I can be an entrepreneur, and the space opened up for it. See, we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. We see it, and that's from the Talmud. I wasn't brilliant enough to create that. That's from the Talmud. We see the world through our eyes as we are. So look at how many people took COVID and became wealthier from it. And people said, oh, I'm shut down now. And there's another great way to create wealth in your life. It doesn't make a difference where you are. And that's to find an early stage company and know what you can contribute to it. And if anyone doubts that, look at all Steve Jobs' friends, look at all Bill Gates' friends, or at least the closer ones back then. They became ultra wealthy by contributing their time, their energies, their knowledge, wisdom, and two of the biggest companies on the planet. I'll give you another example, CEO Space. One day, many years ago, a young lady, she and I having a conversation, she said, I want to talk to you about being on my board of directors. Rocky, I kid you not. I looked over my shoulder. I looked over my other shoulder. She laughed. She says, yeah, I'm talking to you, Richard. I said, I'm a chiropractor. What the heck you want me on your board for? She said, you've been in the quality of life space, which back then it was maybe 20 years ago. She was 30 years, actually. She said, we have a product want to get into that space. We don't know the language. We don't know the culture. We don't know who to talk with. You own that space. Ladies and gentlemen, your knowledge, wisdom, information has a potential to get you on a board or an advisory board for equity and grow a company and grow your wealth, your abundance. The CEO Space is the place where that happens. All these other JV things, they're about JVs. We're about building companies. They're all good, by the way, so I belong to them.
And thank you so much for sharing. I know that you mentioned you have some giveaways for the audience for them to check out. If you could share a little bit about that and where people can find you, that'd be awesome.
I would love to. Thanks for the opportunity. So one burning question that people have, even if it's not conscious, is what has to happen to bridge the gap between where you are and where you can be in your business? So this is an invitation to book a growth potential review. Let's have a phone call. My hourly rate, that bills out at $275. And because you tuned into Rocky's platform, that's for free. Very simple, richardkaye.com/talk. RICHARDKAYE.com/talk. This is a conversation that we can explore what has to happen to bridge that gap. And earlier on, I mentioned that you can have a book for free. Rocky, I'm going to be really clear. I used to give away the first 2 chapters. And my fiance said, Richard, why don't you just give the book away? You've already written it. Why don't you serve more people? And I looked at her, I said, that's one of the reasons you're my fiance. So this is the entire PDF, how to turn your customers into raving fans. And I promise you, it will not do you any good unless you read it. If you don't read it, it'll be just like so many books we have on our bookshelves. So the title of the book is The Secrets of Creating Customers for Life. And it's richardkaye.com. You've already got that, RICHARDKAYE.com/customers-free. richardkaye.com/customers-free. Please read the book. It'll do one thing. It'll help you improve the quality of your life, which will allow you to take better financial care of yourself and your family. Only if you read it. Rocky, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us today. At the end of the day, it's all about serving others. I give away a ton of information on this podcast, and we don't hold anything back. Because of that, many of you become clients, and that's cool. Others may buy the course, and others just learn and implement. And all of those are awesome, and I'm happy to serve because I already have enough. My current goal is less clients. I don't want to work so much. I also love helping others and watching them succeed. Remember, you don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful. We focus on the bottom line. If you want a done-for-you service, you can have me as your Chief Profitability Officer because you have your zone of genius and want to spend your time doing what you love. I only work with a handful of clients, so they get my full attention. I work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $5 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on my calendar for a good fit conversation to see if I'm the right person to support you and how I can help you. If you want to learn about living the life of your dreams, check out my other podcast, Richer Soul. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.